what does gutsy mean to you, my friend?
Mm, taking authentic, aligned action without censoring yourself.
Welcome to the Gutsy Podcast, the show where you learn how to own what you actually want and shift the mind junk that's been holding you back. I'm Laura Ora, keynote speaker, coach, and your guide to help you get clarity, build confidence, and make the gutsy moves that change your life. Each week, I'm going to help you simplify things by teaching you how to get out of your head while stepping into action. This way you can achieve all those life shifts that you've been overthinking. Your desire, that drives you. But gutsy, that's what gets it done. There comes a point for a lot of high-achieving women when the question isn't, can I do this? It's, do I still want to? Look, sometimes the career that you worked so hard to build, the one that looks successful on paper, quietly stops feeling like the life that you want to live. And that's where today's conversation begins. Ilene Kastel built and sold a 7-figure counseling practice after realizing that what once felt deeply aligned simply didn't anymore. And the boldest part? She walked away before she knew exactly what was next. In this episode, we're talking about what it really looks like to leave corporate, reinvent yourself, and build a business that's aligned with who you are now. We get into the nervous system side of big transitions, the identity shifts that come with starting over, and why self-trust is one of your greatest business skills, and how to know the difference between your fear asking you to grow versus misalignment that's asking you to pause. If you've been feeling the pull towards something different but aren't quite sure how to take that first step, I think you're going to see yourself in this conversation. Ilene is a licensed counselor, coach, certified reset breathwork practitioner, and founder of Mindfully Modern Collective. For over 20 years, she's supported people through real, gutsy moments of change when life feels misaligned, identity shifts, or something deeper is calling. Blending psychology, nervous system awareness, and intuitive somatic practices, Ilene helps clients move forward with clarity, intention, and self-trust through coaching, breathwork, and immersive experiences. She lives what she teaches, building a life rooted in authenticity, freedom, and alignment. You're going to hear us both talk about this today. Sometimes that next gutsy move is trusting what you can't see, but you can most certainly feel. Let's get into it. Hey, Ilene, welcome to the Gutsy Podcast.
Thank you. I am really thrilled to be here.
Yeah. So, okay, we're going to jump right into your gutsy story because
Mm.
I think that this is bold as shit and I'm here for it. So, you sold a 7-figure company that you
Yeah.
built from the ground up
Yeah.
without knowing what was next.
Yes, my stomach just dropped even as you said that, even though I'm like so far, I'm past it. But yeah,
That's
yeah.
why I just sat with that for a second. I was like, we just need to give that its own time and space. So take me back into
Yeah.
what was happening, what led up to that moment. Like, tell me that story.
Yeah. Oh, so much. So let me try to be succinct. The business was good. I genuinely, authentically loved my team. It had been 14 years ish about building it. Um, Originally my goal wasn't to hit 7 figures, but once it happened, that was amazing. And there were a couple of layers to where my shift started happening. It was one, my own personal evolution and like where I wanted to be spending my energy and how I wanted to be spending my day. And there were a lot of parts about what I was doing that I enjoyed. I love entrepreneurship. I love building and creating. And there were other parts that I really no longer felt in alignment with. And one of those things was an insurance-based practice. It was a mental health counseling group practice, and we are insurance based. Everything gets billed through insurance, and it was a huge struggle. I think it's our healthcare system is a broken system. I was tired of swimming upstream, and for me, what that meant was, we only get paid what insurance deems we're worthy of, whatever the reimbursement is. And frankly, we hadn't been given a raise in like 10 years.
Wow.
And what impacted me was on a daily basis where I felt so much pressure and strain was wanting to be able to provide this amazing life financially for my employees. And that got more and more and more difficult to do every year as the cost of living goes up, your vendors, your expenses go up. And so that weighed on my shoulders almost daily. And the stress of it, and trying to be creative and figure out other ways to bring in money and to increase profit margins so that I can be there for my team. So long story short, primarily first and foremost, I think it was me no longer aligning with what I feel is a broken system in our country, which is insurance and healthcare systems. And two, I think it was an identity shift in myself and how I wanted to spend my time and spend my days. And I had realized I was burned out. I was really burned out, and I was no longer just happy. And at the darkest moments, I was waking up in the mornings crying in the bathroom and lying awake at night going, how did I get there? Like, I created this, I built this, and it was in alignment. I was in alignment until I wasn't. And so it was scary, it was unsettling, there was a lot that had to happen. And eventually, and also I have a very supportive husband who was like, if you're not happy, we'll figure it out. And I a lot of self-trust to go inward and know that, like, while at one point I thought I would do this until I retired and I was going to disappoint a lot of people, that, like, for me, there was something next. Like, that chapter of my life, that, like, contract I had was ending, and something new was needing to get called in. And like you mentioned, I didn't know what I was going to do next. I just knew what I was doing wasn't it anymore.
So relatable. Huge gutsy moment, to even notice and acknowledge that, hey, what once lit me up and what once was in alignment has changed.
Yeah.
Has shifted. Like, you were happy until you weren't.
Yeah.
You were all in until you were ready to be out. I mean, I went through this when I sold my agency.
Mm.
I spent 20 plus years in branding and marketing. I thought
Yeah.
I would do that shit until the day I died.
Same. That was the plan.
Right. And you don't, I think that's an important thing to talk about, is sometimes the big plan, the big gutsy, original gutsy move, sometimes eventually evolves as well. And it's not because it's wrong. It's not because you did something that you didn't mess up. It's just sometimes you're just finished.
Yeah.
Like, sometimes that's exactly what you needed in the time frame that you needed. But the key is, are you willing to let it go?
Absolutely. Alignment evolves, and staying in tune with yourself is an important part of the process. And I also just want to say, like, this took time. This was also a journey to start to notice, start to pay attention, start to question, start to be like, really, am I really gonna walk away, dismantle the company, sell it, like, whatever, to really grapple with all of that and the identity shifts. And people's lives were, they were employed, that's people's lives and their livelihood. And yeah, so it's an evolution, and it's a journey, and I think for some people it happens quickly, and others it takes time to grapple with.
For
And it's
sure.
different than, like, building a career and working for a company and being like, I'm not enjoying the vibe of this company anymore, and wanting to, like, apply and go elsewhere. I felt very, very trapped. And even though it was my own container I built, that was lovely, but just wasn't in alignment anymore. And so that evolution does take a lot of self-awareness, a lot of honesty, a lot of connection with your own emotion, and yeah, moving through it so that you can feel ready to make a pivot.
For sure. There are a lot of parallels to, like the gal that's listening today that's shifting from corporate into business.
Yeah.
There are a lot of parallels, because a lot of times, if you're in corporate and you're ready to go out on your own, I'm going to guess you've probably been there for a hot minute.
Mm-hmm.
You have
Yep.
probably worked your way up. There are probably people that rely on you. And while the ties are different in
Mm-hmm.
business versus working for a business,
Mm-hmm.
I think the emotional load can be very similar, especially if you've got a team, if you've got people that you've helped build up. And how's this going to affect things? You might feel trapped with, maybe I'm making this six-figure income or a certain
Mm-hmm.
level of income, and now I want to go out. And how do I do
Yeah,
that? And so I think there's a lot of parallels with your story and
for sure.
the gal
Yeah.
that's, ready to go out on her own or maybe just recently stepped into it.
Yes, the golden handcuffs, and that is a huge passion of mine. It is a lot of the work of that my some of my clients do come to me for is like leaving corporate America for reinvention and that journey. And there are a lot of pieces mentally, emotionally, spiritually, psychologically that you need to move through to be able to honor yourself and live a life of alignment, um, and not wake up when you're 80 and look back and say, I wish I did something that I could have, should have, would have.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What does that reinvention typically kind of look like? I know it's a unique process for everybody, but what are
Yeah.
some of the things that these gals are reinventing or working on or finding realignment with as they're transitioning out of that corporate space?
Yeah, it's a really good question. Where to begin? There's so much. Well, let me first frame that we don't have to burn it all down immediately. These can be, especially if there's golden handcuffs there, that this would first be, not everybody wakes up knowing exactly what they want to do next, but they know this isn't working, right? Similar to my story. And so where I start with some of my clients is brainstorming, what are some of your ideas? What have some of your dreams been? And then we look at things going through like, what are your values? What are you good at? And where could you actually begin to make money here and start to formulate this other part of your identity where you're just like dreaming and like imagining what could exist. And then we start to build a framework for what this air quote side hustle, don't love the word hustle, but like what this side hustle could start to be, and to start dipping your toes in it, start to explore, are you enjoying it? Is it actually feeling as good as you thought it would feel? And through that, then during that process, we can touch on, or I think part of what you're asking about is like, what are some of those changes? And I think it's our relationship to money. It's our relationship to work-life balance. It is being able to be in tune with your nervous system and know like it's exciting and it's also a scary transition, and understanding the difference between what's fear and what you can work through in that regard versus like, no, this is you're reacting because this is maybe not in alignment, or you're reacting because this is in alignment, and being really in tune with your nervous system. So that's one of the things where I would recommend starting is also being in tune with your nervous system, which does take work, does take time, because it's not just a personal development skill, it's a business skill. And that nervous system it's gonna be your guide. It's gonna be your guide if you can listen to it.
What does it look like to listen to your nervous system? Like
Oh,
what are we looking for?
okay, I'll give you an example.
Please do. I love a good example.
A personal example for me, literally in the last like 2 weeks, I this year has just been like so much inertia, fire horse energy, like there's all this momentum building with my business. And I was like, you know what, I'm gonna get a business coach. Like, I've built a great bit, but I'm gonna get a business coach who can help me just like really hit the ground running and launch, and like more than this like next stage of my career. And I was like interviewing and talking to other coaches, and I felt anxious the whole time. And I thought it was because of like money, that I have this like mindset, this like trajectory that I'm wanting to grow to. And I thought it was about that. And my nervous system was I was like not falling asleep as quickly. It was like I was having a little bit harder time focusing on present moment conversations because this thing was running in the background. I have this big expensive decision to make in the background, and who's going to be the right aligned choice for me. And when I meditated and paused and was able to like quiet my nervous system, I journaled a little bit, I realized it just wasn't the right time. It's not that I'm not going to get a coach. It's not that this journey I'm like envisioning for myself isn't going to happen. It's just about timing. And so I didn't like that answer. I didn't. So I actually reached out to my intuitive healer and said, "Can you do a reading for me?" And she did. And she gave me the same information. She's like, "The coach you want to go with is the right one. The timing's just off, just not yet. You still have more unfolding to do." And I didn't like that answer. So then I went to a girlfriend who does tarot. And I was like, "Can you do a reading for me?" Like a few days later, I was like, "I swear this is going to change. Like, I know, I want my ego. Like, I want this." Right. And so she did a reading for me. And I was like, damn it. Like, same thing, just the timing is off. And so I sent the email to the coach I had wanted to work with. And I said, told her what was up. And boom, my nervous system settled. My nervous system settled. And I knew it was the right decision. And that I think is a really nice example of like, I was listening to my nervous system and I was trying to override it. I was trying to force something that like my mind and my ego wanted. And when I really got quiet and I really and this was also part of it. I was like, I had, you've gotten this far by truly, truly, truly trusting yourself and like what you know internally. And I don't care what my mind or my ego wants. Like, I need to like really utilize this intuition and my nervous system. And when I did, everything settled. And like a few days later, now a week out, 2 weeks out, I'm like, that was the right decision.
I love that. Oh my God, it's perfect because you gave such great like cues, like not being able to be present in conversations, not being able to fall asleep as easily, right? Like things that maybe don't normally take effort start taking effort, where you have to think about it more, or your body just feels
On edge.
yeah, exactly. It's like you're always kind of on the edge. You're always feeling a little activated is a word that I use a lot. Like something's just got me going right now.
Yeah.
And it's always, always, always worth exploring.
Yes.
And especially when you're at a point like you were in where it's time to make a decision.
Mm-hmm.
If that's going on, friend, that is a call to pause.
It is
that is not the time to decide. That's not the time to act. That is the time to sit your ass down and feel into it, to listen to it, to really get to know that. And you know, it's rarely on the timeline that we want it, right? I can appreciate you being like, "No, I don't like that answer. Let me try and get this, 7 other ways." And it's like it always comes back to, I knew that.
Yeah.
I knew.
Yeah.
But sometimes you just need that extra confirmation
100%.
to just feel good in your body about making that decision.
Yeah. And I think kind of wrapping this back to where we started, that example about people breaking away from corporate America to try to build their own thing. That being in tune with your nervous system is going to be a part of this process, and the timing is going to be a part of this process. And there's going to be a balance where it is going to be scary, and knowing also working, I would say work with a coach, but work with a coach on like really being able to anchor into that self-trust and creating a plan, which is like our very human side. But then our more spiritual side is like, double checking that with your nervous system, with your intuition, with your self-trust. And if you need help or support strengthening that this is the perfect process to do that if you're making this life change. And the other thing for someone making that type of a transition, that this is a calculated, what I like to call calculated risk, where you're not just walking into your office and saying, "I quit," and you're going full time into this new business on Monday, right? Like this is a calculated, you're going to try to test it out. You're going to put your training wheels on. You're going to start to build some momentum. You're going to start to like do some sales, get some clients, whatever you're building. And at some point in the work, you'll know when it's time. You'll know when it's time, and you'll know because you're either too stressed, you're overworked, you're overburdened, and and trusting that journey that you're on. And I think not necessarily doing it alone, I think, is an important part of it.
Absolutely. So let's transition into, okay, we've made that move.
You made the move.
We've made the move. Corporate is behind us. We're full time in the business. But man, corporate might be gone, but its presence lingers
Yeah.
in our habits and our time and the expectation. um what tends to happen in the nervous system when you go from something that's very structured with high expectations where you're always having to be on, right? Like things are very one way, and now you're in this kind of wide open space where you get to create whatever you want, which is exhilarating but also can be very daunting if that's not what you're used to. What's
Yeah.
how do we transition our nervous system from one
Mm,
world into the other?
yeah. No, that's a really great question. I I think one of the things people notice first in that transition is work just looks very different. And it certainly depends on what company you're starting or launching or building. But corporate America is so much, you know, 9 to 5, 8 to 4, Monday through Friday. And this transition into building your own thing, you actually get to work when you have energy and rest when you're are allowed to rest. And so I think that is a really big transition, is like you're allowed to rest. In corporate America, it doesn't matter how you wake up, how tired you are, how crabby you are. It doesn't matter. You have to go to work and you have to show up, and we put masks on, and you behave the way you think corporate America needs you to behave. When you're transitioning over, there's this beautiful thing of freedom and flexibility, and figuring out and listening, protecting your energy, working when you feel energized, and pausing and resting when, whether even if that's just a nap, or maybe you're like, today it's just not flowing and like I'm closing, shutting it down. And granted, this is different, if you've got, a brick and mortar store, that's different. But for as a CEO and you're talking about like running a business, there's a lot of freedom and flexibility that you are now adapting to. And that can cause a lot of stress and anxiety about like, I should be working, I should be performing, I should be X, Y, and Z. I need to make money, and all of those pressures that come in and kind of interrupt your flow of creation.
You know that feeling when you're right on the verge of a breakthrough? Like you can feel it coming in. You know that you're made for something more or bigger, and it just feels like it's right around the corner. And then you get caught in this kind of anxious energy where you're like, oh, I got to make it happen. I got to do all the things. I need to get all the stuff on my calendar. I got to keep going because it's right there. Sometimes it's like, oh, is this excitement and I'm building up towards this? Or, or am I trying to force and control something when what I really need to do is let it happen? Now, that doesn't mean sit around and watch the paint dry, okay? This means slowing down long enough to actually evaluate what you want, how you want to do things, and giving the work that you're doing space to breathe. That breakthrough that you're feeling, yeah, it most certainly is trying to come in. But when you're constantly tinkering and forcing and pushing and changing things, it's always bouncing off course. One of the very first things that we do inside of Oraline is slow down so that you can intentionally speed up. One of the women in Oraline recently said, Laura, I have been able to sit in my ick, which was not something that I was able to do before we started working together. This stopped me from rushing ahead, making decisions that weren't ready, and allowed the timing of things to work as planned. In Oraline, we get you out of reactive mode and into intention. And that is where shit starts working. If you want to take your business to the next level and do it your way this time, go to lauraora.com/mastermind to sign up for Oraline today. Yeah, that pressure, that should. I mean, you've probably been programmed to work one way for who knows what, 20, 30 years maybe? I mean, it's very possible.
Yeah, yeah.
So when you go to this like completely different way of working, it feels wrong.
Mm-hmm.
It feels like I'm messing up, I'm falling behind, I'm going to get in trouble, somebody's going to come check on me, right? Like, I mean, all that stuff that comes along with it. And I found while I didn't transition from corporate to business, I did transition from similar feelings in when I transitioned into this business. And what I found was I had to create that new sense of familiarity in my body.
Mm-hmm.
I just had to show myself that there was another way, and it was not an overnight thing.
No, yeah.
It's these small, slow steps of like, hey, I don't have to work until 5. I'm done at 3:15. Oh,
Yeah.
I can be done. Let me walk away
Yeah.
instead of finding more things to fill my time with, right? And just introducing these smaller moments of like, hey, body, it's cool.
Yep.
Nobody's coming after us.
Yeah.
We get to make the rules,
Absolutely.
but your nervous system is just not used to it, so it kind of flares up.
Yeah, and to be honest, Laura, like even though I've been an entrepreneur, I mean that's forever. I still work-life balance. It's still something that I have to be conscientious about and thoughtful about. And I love working at night. I love laying in bed when like the world is quiet, there's no emails coming in, and I can just like I can just work. And maybe that means most of the morning, during the day, I'm like going for a walk, I'm going to the grocery store, I'm, you know, whatever that might, like the patterns of my day sometimes are different. And I think create that what you're creating for self structure. Now, if you have kids and there's different things that call to how your structure needs to flow during your day. But as an entrepreneur, there's a lot of flexibility and a lot of freedom. And you're right, having that settle into your body and figuring out what's right for you, whether that's you think you're underperforming or you're overperforming.
For sure. Let's talk a little bit about undoing some habits,
Mm,
corporate habits. What are some corporate habits that you see that tend to carry over into business ownership, and how do we start to maybe create some new healthier habits to replace them?
yeah. For every individual, it's going to be different. But one thing that comes to mind is there's a hierarchy in corporate America. You run ideas through other people, you get approvals. When you're running your own business, this is you. This is you. And typically, when you're starting out, it's just you. You're the marketing manager, you are the social media manager, you are the HR manager, you are your own accountant. Typically, when you're first starting out, I recommend getting an accountant. But my point is that you're doing everything, and you don't have as much support. So the hat, I guess this, I don't know if this exactly answers your question, but this is where my brain is going, is that one of the things is about self-reliance. And for some people that might be wonderful. Not they like being able to do everything themselves and not have to rely on other people. And for others, that, for people who might need a little bit more reassurance or validation, or are used to like being able to kick ideas around with other people to figure out their process or problem solve, that kind of goes away.
Yeah, there's definitely an isolation when you go from a collaborative space into a space of your own.
I think that's a beautiful way to frame it with way less words than I did.
No, no, it's great. We're here together. I think this is why community,
Yeah.
especially in entrepreneurship. I mean, I think there's great community in all different pockets of life. But as an entrepreneur, being in a community or having an inner circle of other entrepreneurs that you can talk about entrepreneurial things with,
100%.
not necessarily your spouse that doesn't own a business. If they do, that's a different story. But somebody outside of your spouse, somebody outside of your best friend, somebody outside of like your normal go-tos, because while they have really great intentions, they don't know how to support you in this space.
That is 110% accurate. My greatest weapon when I was building my prior business was having, I called her my work wife. She also had a group practice, and um, it was someone to support, to brainstorm, to someone who's also either on your same level where you're at or is just above you, in terms of where you're trying to go. in terms of mentorship and community. And I, it is so underrated and finding the right support and the right community. And absolutely to counter that isolation and for you to be the best version of yourself and to build the best, like, heart-centered business that you possibly could build.
Yeah. The only thing that comes up when you're saying that is I think that community also helps to show you what's possible, especially if this is a new space for you, because
Mm-hmm.
you don't know what you don't know.
You
And
don't.
so while we're not replicating someone else's way of doing business, because let's face it, you left corporate because you were out of alignment. You were done.
Yeah.
You were finished with that. So let's not build the business the same way that you were building in the corporate because it wasn't working there. So why would it work over here?
Mm-hmm.
But if you don't know what your options are or you've just not done it over here yet, being in a group of people can help show you different ways of doing things for you to try and then ultimately be able to learn how it works best for you.
Yeah. I 100% agree. It's why I do the coaching I do. And it's also why I also was like, I want my own coach, um, who's done the landscape that I am trying to build towards. Um, Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. Is that something that you um, found along the way after it's your marketing and business and then transitioning over?
Yeah. So since transitioning over, I became part of a speaking group called Mic Drop that just helped me to learn what I did not know. I was not new to business, but I was new to this business.
Yeah.
And there was a learning curve
Yeah.
and there was a starting over point, and it was frustrating
Yeah.
because I'm like, how, I'm already at 100% over here, speed wise. Things are figured out, it's flowing. And now what are you going to tell me? I'm back at like 18%. Like that. I don't like that. That's
Yeah.
not a good place to be. So my theory was help me learn what I don't know in the most simplistic, fastest way possible because I'm
Yeah.
already in movement.
Yes.
I want to stay in movement. So how do I learn what I need to know in a shorter time frame? I don't need to go through all the things again, right?
Oh,
I want to get to the information
yeah.
so that I can just stay in motion.
Yeah. We have a lot in common. I felt that also. I took some time off after selling my company, recover from burnout, and now building a new business. It's like, oh no, I know how to run a business, but this is different. This is slightly different, and needing and going from, like, where you're talking about like 100% to you said 18% and being like, no, I don't like this. and when I look back, I said back in the day when I was building my first counseling group practice, it was, you know we were figuring it out as we went. It was like bootstrapped. You make a mistake, you learn from it, and it was trial and error. And there's a lot of beauty in that. There's nothing wrong with that. But nowadays, you can find a kind of like a packaged program that teaches you exactly how to start and open and run and build a group practice, right? And so that's beautiful. It saves you time, it saves you energy, it fast tracks you, and that's also really, really lovely. And don't be mistaken, you're still going to make mistakes. I'm going to still make mistakes. You're probably going to still make mistakes, and we're going to learn from them. But it's lovely to have the community and the mentorship to help you personally and professionally.
For
Because
sure.
entrepreneurship, even if you have coworkers, even employees, even if you have someone you've hired as a VP or whatnot, like, it's lonely at the top. It is. It's difficult.
Absolutely. Another thing that I see a lot with the gals that I work with that have left corporate and on their own now is the transition into being seen as their own self,
You say it
showing up,
more. Yeah.
showing up, taking space, making their own decisions, putting themselves out there. They're so used to being under the umbrella of a different brand and under a different set of rules
Yeah.
that there's a discomfort in
Yeah.
really showing the world who they are as an individual outside of that umbrella.
Yeah, imposter syndrome. Yeah, yeah. That, oh, I hope that may never go away for some people, right? That might just be one of those discomforts that you embrace while you put yourself out there. And that's okay. Um, while you continue to work on your confidence, your self-trust, um, really honoring all your experience, your passions, your motivation that are coming together that's uniquely you, and you're building a very unique business. Even though, for example, it was a counseling practice I had, thousands of those. Mine was in Chicago, thousands and thousands and thousands of them. But you are uniquely different, and your skills and your gifts and the beauty that you have to offer this world is what you get to share and put out there. And a heartfelt business and you leading from a heart-centered place is going to be seen and respected by others. We're in a time where people love vulnerability, they love transparency, they love authenticity, and it's okay for you to still move forward and build a business, even though there might be some feelings of around imposter syndrome, and learning to embrace that while also moving forward with like what I like to call like business energetics, where you're grounded in what you have to offer, and um, working through some of that anxiety or need for external validation, like putting a post out and are people going to like this? Is it going to resonate with the people I want it to? And the anxiety, and then checking constantly for how many likes and comments you have. And to be honest, none of that really matters. All that matters is one person that sees it, that maybe doesn't even comment or like it, but maybe reaches out to you in 2 months because something resonated there.
Yeah. Silent watchers are always there. It blows my mind. I've had quite a few women join Oraline that prior to our conversation about them joining, I didn't even know existed, but they were
Mm-hmm.
quietly watching in the background or listening to
Yeah.
the podcast or following my Instagram post or watching my TikTok videos or whatever the case for sometimes months,
Yeah.
in some cases years.
They're the best referrals. Yeah.
Yeah, you just really never know
Yeah.
where the next great person is going to enter your life from.
Yeah.
And so staying in alignment with yourself and continuing to show up as yourself is your only role and responsibility in this.
Yeah. And that can mean even if you feel like, or maybe you are, I'm a messy person, I'm not totally confident, I'm second guessing everything. Okay. So this is one part of you, and we can do some exploration on the shoulds, the pressure, and like deconstructing um, the external pressure, the external brainwashing,
Yeah.
programming, um, to we keep using the word alignment, and I love it, and I use it constantly, and I think it's like, what does that actually mean, and what does that actually look like? And I think it is about shedding the programming and the pressure and the expectations that we have absorbed through whatever that is, family, the media, society, and figuring out who we are on multiple different levels, and then that shining through our business and what we're doing and how we conduct ourselves.
Beautifully said. That is the core of a
Yeah.
successful business.
Yeah.
Not just one success in financial means, but like fulfilling success.
Yeah.
Like you went into business because you want to have freedom, flexibility, time. You want to be able to do your own thing, be on when you want to be on, be off when you want to be off. And being in alignment, like you just described,
Yeah.
is the center of all of that.
Yeah. And not comparing yourself, right? Like, I'm a perfect example of that. I had a seven-figure business, and at a certain point I was miserable, right? I still had to show up every day, smile, be a mentor, support, lead with in a way that felt energetically centered, even though internally I was not. Like, you know, because that's what you do for your team and the people you care about. But I think especially as you're first starting out in building something and you're birthing something, to be thoughtful about that comparison, because again, what you have is unique, what you're building is yours, and the unfolding is happening. It is happening, and you're in the midst of it, and
Yeah,
it's going to continue.
absolutely. Well, I know that this is a big jump for a lot of people. You know, it's a gutsy move in its own,
Really.
leaving a corporate space where there's all kinds of security, but if you're unhappy, you're unhappy. It doesn't
Mm-hmm.
matter how
Yeah.
great something looks on paper. If you're out of alignment, you're going to feel it in
Yeah.
every aspect of your life, your energy, everything.
100%. And I think part of the gutsy process is beyond just the building of the business, right? If you have golden handcuffs, there might need to be some important changes that happen in your life. And some of those things you might immediately feel averse to, right? So maybe that means you got to downsize. I'm not saying you need to, but like maybe that means you do need to downsize so that you can work on building this other dream that you have. You know, it's I hope everything can stay exactly the same as it is while you make this really gutsy move over to, you know, reinventing yourself and building something that gives you more purpose and aliveness. And this really might mean some shifts need to happen that are very uncomfortable and are going to take some grappling with to be able to make this transition. That doesn't need it needs to be a permanent shift, but some things might need to shift a little bit, and that maybe that means you're not as able to take as elaborate vacations as you once did while you're building something new, right? I don't know what that means for you because it's a unique experience for each person, but I think part of that gutsy move is not just about this like, okay, I'm going to shift from corporate and what's my dream and what's the business and what's the plan and what's the game plan and what's an alignment and what's my nervous system saying in relation to this. But there's also this like real life things. It's like, okay, I need to pay for childcare, or we have this mortgage to pay. And like most of us build our lives around the incomes that we have. Most of us don't live below our means, I think, in America. And so there might need to be some temporary shifts that need to happen. And those deserve your exploration. You might not decide to go that route, for example, downsizing your home, but you deserve to at least explore it mentally, emotionally, versus immediately rejecting it. Because the more you reject, the harder this transition is going to mentally, emotionally, and logistically probably be for you.
Absolutely. That's a great point. The bigger gutsy move only happens because of the dozens, if not hundreds, of smaller gutsy moves that you made leading up to it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
That's how it ultimately happens.
yeah, yeah.
Ilene, I know that you work with incredible humans as they're transitioning in life and in their careers. So tell us, what is the best place to find and connect with you?
Couple of places. I'm on LinkedIn as Ilene Kastel. I'm more active on Instagram, Mindfully Modern Collective, as well as my website, mindfullymoderncollective.com. It will be getting revamped soon. It's don't judge me. It's just the process. The website's there. It's as I unfold and continue to evolve, so is my website. So that is there. And then I do one-on-one coaching. I do breath work journeys and half-day intensives, and I also host retreats. So you can find a lot of that information on my website. And I would love to stay connected with you.
Perfect. We will link all that in the show notes. And just asterisk, websites are never done. I spent a lot of time in that world. They're never done.
Yeah,
Mine, it's never done. It's a living,
it
breathing
it
machine of its own.
yeah.
So
I
I can appreciate the work in progress.
yeah.
Done is better than perfect. It's up there, it's out there, and people can
Yeah.
find you.
I just wanted to share also for your audience. I wanted to give some discount codes for your audience. So $30 off a breathwork journey. If anyone's interested in that, you can learn more at my website, and $250 off your first month of coaching.
Perfect. Again, we'll link those codes in the show notes below. And I'm curious, What does gutsy mean to you, my friend?
Taking authentic, aligned action without censoring yourself.
I think one of the most important things that Ilene talked about today is slowing down long enough to ask yourself how I want to spend my time in my day. Like, you know that when you've been under somebody else's umbrella for so long, you're just expected to always be on at a certain time and clock in and clock out at certain times and always be available. And when you're switching, especially when you're switching from working from someone else to working for yourself, there's just an undoing period where you're unraveling the habits, the beliefs, the systems that you have been forced to operate underneath. So this slow down method is a really great way to start reconditioning yourself, creating new habits, and it takes time. These have been deeply ingrained for probably a very long time, maybe even decades. So give yourself a little bit of grace, but always catch yourself, or maybe even start your day with, how do I want to spend my time? How do I want to spend my day? What really needs me the most right now? And then the trick is giving yourself permission to follow through with that. In Auraline, we are undoing these habits on a daily basis. So if you want to be surrounded by some other women that are doing the same while building a business their way, come see what Auraline's all about. I mean, what's the best case scenario? Things start working out, you start making the money that you want, and you're happy in your business? I mean, I think it's a pretty good trade-off. If you've got some questions or just want to clarify that this is the right next step for you, shoot me a message on Instagram or Facebook or wherever the hell you watch me online. My handle is @thatlauraora. And as always, until I see you next time, stay gutsy.